Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea, I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries. eyes that singeth unto me the songs of Mother Goddess and of Father in the tree.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. Hello, hello. And being broadcast live tonight, of course, on Truth Frequency Radio, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, and TalkStream Live, and on YouTube. Make sure you hit that like and thumbs up button. And if you are a new listener, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you'll know when we're loading new things up. And if you hit the little bell icon, you'll get an alarm too, even. So there, do it. No matter how you are hearing me, whether it's on air or through YouTube, make sure you stop in and say hello with a quick message. And if you don't have time for that, or if you're listening later, send me an email at wildpaisley@gmail.com. That's WILDEPAISLEY@gmail.com. And if you want to support the show, please do so. You can go to etsy.com/shop/Monarch Mountain Studio, MTN for mountain. Or you can go to patreon.com/the spaces between. Or if you really want to just send me money, which, I like free money. Surprise money. Surprise money is awesome. You can send it to paypal.me/PaisleyWild. So, yeah. I'm just trying to share some links, so I'm remembering how to do these things. And hey, we are live tonight, so the call line is open. I did remember how to do that. So that number is 213-233-3998. Or if you're across the pond in the UK, you can go to 44203-393-2871. And just real quick, make sure you go to iLife.com. That's AYALIFE.com, iLife.com. Hi, Dion. Thanks for joining. Dion is new, so I hope y'all are nice to her in the chat room. So there. Canadian money, I'll take it all. Donations are welcome. And go to iLife.com. So it's iLife is ayahuasca and CBD oil, and it's just it'll cure what ails you, especially in these weird times that we've got going on. Holy cow! Got the flu, muscle aches, something like that. Check it out. And iLife is the official sponsor for Truth Frequency Radio. So yeah. Let's see. I think I've got it all. It looks like we've got CJ and Adrienne and Bam in the chat. And then who else do we have? Bomber, Cameron, Chris, Jarvis, Deb Varner. Hello, Deb. Dion and her mom. Gemini, Nessie, Pharmacy Seeds. Carlton is here, but not here. I know that feeling. I was that way this morning when my eyeballs tried to open up. Ken, Titan, and Andrea. Sorry, Andrea. Not Adrienne. So, apparently I should have coffee at night too, not just in the morning. And YTFP Chris. And Lucky is in the house. And no, you don't have to be good, Chris. Just behave mostly. Hey, Brandy, how you doing? So, don't mind me. I'm not drinking coffee. Coffee after 5 p.m. is bad. You don't sleep very well, but sometimes you need it. Nessie, you are not mean. Just sometimes you guys are naughty. So, yes. Anyways. Let's see. So tonight, I got to thinking, here I am. I talk about shadow work all the time, how important it is. And it's something that is important. And if you are not doing shadow work, it's okay. I mean, if that's something you've never done, or maybe you're doing it and you don't know that you're doing it. So, I thought it was time to talk about it. So because and Justin looks like he's about to go for a bit of a trip. So yep, should be fun. So peace. Inner peace, external peace, just peace with ourselves comes from loving every part of our journey, even the dark places. So I personally feel that magic is magic, whether white, dark, black, gray, purple, rainbow, gold, sparkly, I don't care. It's magic. Just like there's two sides to a quarter or a coin, there's two sides to magic. And some of it, oh, hi Ethan, did I miss you? And you can do one without the other, although it can make your practice lopsided a little bit. But it may not. And the reason why, in my personal interpretation, remember this is my journey that y'all are just kind of joining me on. This is my verbal book of shadows kind of learning stuff. So I personally feel that magic is magic. Now, if you or someone you know is a white witch, I get it. That's what you want to affiliate yourself with. You're the love and light version of a witch. Just be aware that the amount of positive or white or love and light that you're putting out into the world, there's your counterpart for the other side. There's a finite amount of energy, if you will, and it has to balance. Maybe it's a Libra thing, maybe it's not, but to me, my interpretation is that there has to be a balance. So for me personally, if you were to apply a color to me, I'm more gray, a little purpley, but you know, I'm gray, and that's because sometimes you just have to do things, and so it's there's both, because and I've talked about curses in the past, and not just curses, but also, you know, if you're blessing someone or wishing someone well, you know, it's your attention, exactly, Titan. And sometimes it's also, you know, if you wish someone a long life and you want to bestow upon them long life, what if they have an accident and they're paralyzed from the neck down and they're paraplegic and they're going to be a paraplegic for the next 40 years? That may not necessarily be the long life they're hoping for. So is that a curse or is that a blessing? So just be aware, because there's intention, and also what you feel someone needs may not be what they really need deep down. So just be aware. And really, that's why you should meditate before you do any of your ritual work, because it's important. And you really need to focus on what it is you need. So that's just, you know, my soapbox a bit. But so yeah, shadow work. It's an important part of you, because the dark places, no matter what you are the sum of your experiences. It doesn't matter if they're good experiences or bad experiences, neutral experiences or OMG experiences. It doesn't matter. Everything that happens to you or you do impacts who you are. And you're a sum of all those things. And that's why when someone asks me, it's like, hey, if you'd go back in time and change anything about your life, what would you change? Honestly, not much, because I'm pretty okay with me. And if I were to take away or change any one thing from my past, that would change me, myself, my id, my core, and where I'm at in the world today, and spiritually and emotionally and with a relationship and everything. So I'm pretty okay with me. It's taken me a few years to get to where I'm at. But what would I change? I mean, honestly, I think I would have put more exercise in my world back in my 20s. So my shape would be a little less fluffy now than it is. But really, I think I'm okay with me. Hi, Naysay. And so, anyways, some of your experiences, 100%. So, what is shadow work? Well, time to go into it. So, I'll put the sites for this, or that I got my information from, in the notes, so that you can find your own information, do some of your own research, because I think it's important to do your research. And that's why you should journal, write things down. See, Titan asks, are we the sum of our experiences or the sum of how we internalize them? Both. Because how can you internalize how you're doing something or responding to something if you don't experience it? Because, we often wear our experiences, whether they're internalized or not, upon us. They impact our energy. They impact the way we respond to other people. And whatever we are doing, whatever happens in our world, I'm just waving my arms around me, that impacts who we are. Just like watching the news today will impact each of us differently. We may all watch the same news shows, for instance, but we're all going to respond to that information differently. Some positively, some negatively, some neutrally, some with anger, some with joy. Because the news. Good night, Nessie. The news today is quite bizarre here in the U.S. This is stuff that we haven't experienced in a really long time. And so it is different. And so when we are the sum of all those bits, we're the sum of our parts, absolutely. And we need to pay attention to that. So, hey, Lewis. So, yeah, and we all carry a dark side, even if we don't want to admit it. Even those that consider themselves a white witch have some dark places within us. Seriously. It doesn't matter what path you're on, or what tradition you follow, or what religion you are. It doesn't matter if you're pagan or Christian or Jewish or Islamic or any of those, or in any religion, agnostic, even, or atheist. We all have a dark side. And so shadow work, when we start talking about, can sound just really scary. It can, because we're talking about the dark side of ourselves, and it can be uncomfortable, but it's really, really necessary to find true joy and true peace in our lives. Because if we insist on, love and light, love and light, love and light, at some point we will break, because it happens. And then suddenly our dark side just comes out and runs all over everything, smashes it to bits, and tramples everyone around them, because it happens. And just like in Star Wars, you go to the dark side, it becomes chaotic, and it is chaos. And because of that, if you don't pay attention to the dark parts of yourself, that energy can manifest like mental health issues, depression, diseases, autoimmune issues, low self-esteem, addictions, and just other health issues where we're just not able to do, and it just affects your quality of life. And so our shadow self can harm our life in ways that are unconscious to us at the time, because we've shoved it down inside of us and we're trying to ignore it. You can only lock it in the box for so long until, ignoring that dark self and that shadow self becomes habitual, and we stop paying attention to it. And so our shadow self subconsciously then really prevents us from reaching our true potentials in life. And so shadow self, as we understand it today, was really defined by Carl Jung, or Carl Jung, Jung, depending on how you pronounce it, in the 20th century. He was a 20th century psychologist in Switzerland. And in his world, the shadow refers to the hidden parts of our being, the hidden parts of ourself. And it's the parts of ourselves that we often try to repress because they make us feel sad or wounded or hurt, or is the part that we're afraid to show to society. So as a pagan or a witch, it's often hard to show that part of ourselves to the world around us, because being a pagan or a witch often isn't as accepted by the world around us. I mean, there's a lot of Christians. You're just driving down the road, you can see a lot of crosses out, but not quite so many pentagrams or pentacles or triskelions or hammers or any of that stuff, any of that symbology. And it's just, we need to pay attention to that. And since it's not as the part of us that we don't show society, whether we're at work or school or around our friends, because we just don't want people to understand or see that part of ourselves, partly because we're afraid of it, and it can also show how we internally perceive ourselves as being weak or in pain, or we feel the need to hide those parts of ourselves, even from ourselves. And so Carl Jung believed that the integration of our shadow side was important to experience our full self and to acknowledge our full self, so we live in a balanced way. And he says that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. So is it really fate? Is it fated? Or is it just really your interpretation or the things that you shove down? Yeah, Lucky's right. On her journey, she learned why she never fit into any particular box regarding personality. And it was the shadow work that she was looking for. Because remember, shadow work for each of us is going to be just a little bit different, because we're all different people. And if I get distracted and look off to my right, it's because I can hear the coyotes are just out there singing. So I hope they leave my chickens alone. There's plenty of deer. They get hit on the road all the time, which is sad and frustrating, but they can have a deer. Anyways. Cameron says, every time you like this stream, a witch finds the one thing that she or he misplaced, but knows it's somewhere close, but just can't find it. Because life. Truth. Free truth. Free truth. So anyways, we go through life, hiding our shadows, hiding those bits of ourselves that the rest of the world just doesn't accept. And it's partly because they're also judging themselves. Remember that. And because, who judges you more than you? I mean, seriously. Not mad. There may be somebody out there, but honestly, it's the little bits of us, that little quiet inside voice, the one that we just, that's us. I mean, that's the part of us that we really need to exorcise and get rid of, because that's the part of us that's beating us up. So that's okay, Cam. You can derp. It's okay. So, and since we go through, why do we go through life hiding those bits of ourselves and shove them away? Because society tells us that we need to do. I mean, don't eat so much. You're going to be fat. Or don't wear that. It looks horrible on you. Or, when you're 60, you're old and you should slow down. Or you're 20 and you know nothing. Those things that society says. Well, you know what? I know some 20-year-olds that have experienced some life in their time. Because life happens to all of us at different speeds, and it's not a race, it's not a competition. We're all on our own individual journeys. And so remember that. We're all different, all right? So at some point in our lives, we discovered pain, for instance. Whether it is that you stubbed your toe, tripped and went boom, gravity happens. Gravity happens. Whatever it is, and we're told, "Oh, brush it off. Oh, you're okay. Don't show your pain." For men, often in our society today, don't be emotional. Men don't show their emotions. If you're going to be a man, you can't cry. And those are all things that society tells us or has told us in the past that it's not okay. It's not okay to show your pain. It's not okay to show your sorrow. It's not okay to cry when you have an emotional response to something. Often if I get angry, if I'm really angry, I will cry because there's just so much anger inside of me. It just leaks out my eyeballs because I can't choke the life out of you. That's okay. It happens. So, yeah, and just be aware that those things that society tells us that are not okay, that's society speaking, and group mind or group think, group thought. That's the bullies, seriously. So yeah, take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath. Yeah, you're too old to have such long hair. You know what? My mother-in-law, 67, 68. I don't know. She has gray hair, steel gray hair, and it's really awesome. It is almost down to her knees. She has to consciously pick it up, move it around so she doesn't sit on it, shut it in the door, that kind of thing. Is it what most people assume an older woman would have for a haircut these days? No, not at all. But you know what? She looks freaking awesome. Why not have long hair? There's nothing wrong with that. Seriously. So, don't let society tell you who you can be and who you can't be. That's not okay. Because often as we shove that stuff down and repress ourselves and ignore that part of ourselves, oh yeah, Bomber, yeah. Don't show emotions. I grew up a tomboy. My dad wanted boys. He had 3 girls. Yeah. I had some issues growing up where I would turn my ankles a lot, and yeah, it was just, I had to go to the emergency room a lot because I was a very active child and everything. And my dad just, oh, suck it up. You don't hurt that much. Breathe through it. So I learned meditation at an early age to manage pain because that's what I was taught. But there's nothing wrong with pain. Pain shows us that there is something wrong that we need to take care of, need to manage. We need to fix it, whether it's becoming well or letting something heal or, whatever it is, it's okay. Because the truth is, we won't know who we really are. And we won't know what or achieve our greatest successes or our greatest, or live to our greatest potential if we don't fight those great battles and learn from them, because those internal battles, they're real. I mean, we all have them. You look in the mirror, it's like, oh, I look like shite today, and oh goodness, that's not what I want. Well, you know what? Just because you look in the mirror and you're not happy with what you look like, that doesn't mean you look bad. It just means your personal filters are clouding your view. So, shadow work must be acknowledged. And we're just talking about the basics of shadow work. So we're just about ready for break. So I'm not going to go on to the next part. I promise. So yeah, the email, wildpaisley@gmail.com, WILDEPAISLEY @gmail.com. Yep, that's real. The phone lines are open, so it's 253-233-3998. I'm remembering things tonight. Boop, boop. So, yeah, Elaine says if she doesn't have pain, it's because she's dead. Pain is good. I understand, lady. I have fibromyalgia. I have pain every day. And it's a real thing. A real thing. If I didn't experience it or wasn't having it, I would wonder if there was something wrong with me. So, deep cleansing breath. We're going to break. We'll be right back. And we'll continue on talking about shadow work and how important it is, because it is.
I, O Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.
Hello, my lovelies. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between. I hope y'all are having a lovely evening, day, morning, time, a good time. We'll leave it at that. Yeah, right? News. So, I know panic buying is starting to happen again. So just take a deep breath, deep cleansing breath away from other people. And be safe, be well. Get some eye life in you. That'll help you. Support your immune system. I'm just going to say that again. Support your immune system. Because if you have a stronger immune system, you won't have quite so many problems when you get sick. Because honestly, I think we're going to get sick. We're all going to get sick. Good night, Deb. I hope you have a lovely night. And I hope your eyes stop bothering you. Yes, I was on the mute button. I do that, Titan. Deep breath. Yes. So, we're talking about shadow work tonight. So I don't know if anybody, I see in chat that some people have done shadow work. Some people are interested in looking for more information. Some are just, I think, observing and listening, and that's good. So if you have a question, please don't be afraid to let me know. It's good. Good to ask questions, and I see them in the chat room all the time. So Carlton says he is not getting sick. He also knows pharmacy seeds, and honestly, I'm pretty sure I've already had this bug. Just a hunch. So if you do get it, get well fast. If you don't get it, then don't get it. You don't have to get sick. And that's something else, where your mind is, where your focus is. If you think you're going to get sick because everybody else is sick, you will. The moment you admit that you are just sick and miserable, and you aren't quite yet, that's when you are going to, get sick. So just like if we focus on the good sides of life, which feels light and joyful and easy and happy, sunshine, rainbows, unicorns, no dust, no lockdown, life will get boring. It'll often be very one-sided, lacking in depth. And as a result, either some of those classic shadow signs are anger, blame, laziness, could be insecurity, codependency, or in some cases, excessively strong independence, like to the point where I will do it, go away, it's my thing, go away. So, and yes, Sonia says, if you think about it, we've all done some sort of shadow work at least once or more in their life. Yes, we all have a little bit. It happens. And life is just a multifaceted experience. We've got good experiences and bad experiences. And in some ways, in order to really, really, really appreciate the good that happens in life, you need to experience some bad. I'm not saying bad. I'm just bad. Whether it's like if you have a fear of heights, and you conquer that fear and you start climbing, mountain climbing, or a hang gliding, or parachuting, or something like that, and you've conquered that fear and you have all that freedom suddenly to do these new things, that's a good thing. That's very good. I won't call it a fear because I refuse to be afraid, but I have a significant dislike of spiders. It's taken me a while to get where I'm at. I'll leave spiders living now. I don't have to kill them all. And I don't have, seriously, it used to be really bad. But I've been working on that because spiders are good. A lot of spiders are really good for the world. They eat the nasty bugs like mosquitoes. And so for me, I've been working on it. I will probably never really love spiders. But I've gotten to that point where It's not an automatic death sentence if I see one, unless it's crawling on me or in the shower or something like that. So yeah. But yeah, so life is multifaceted, good and bad. The light, the dark, the pretty, the ugly, and everything in between. And so if you always bury the shadows or the things that are not, sunshine and rainbows and unicorns, often you're going to feel fractured, compartmentalized, flat, boring. Elaine, you're funny. She says the only thing scarier than a spider is a spider dressed as a clown. And
I think she nailed it.
I'll give you a big hammer to nail it with. So, no. But yeah, if you bury your shadows and you don't ever work on them, if you just ignore them, you'll never move past them and all of those things that life can offer you. And the joys that you could potentially have. I mean, yes, the joys you could potentially have. So, the pain and the suffering that we see in the world around us are often mirrored by our internal pain and suffering. And so we all have these aspects within us in one way or another. So an example given here in the stuff I've researched is that the road, if you drive to work, the road is littered and you see it. And you're like, so what am I going to do? It's like, well, you can either stop and you can pick it up and help clean it, or you can just ignore it. Or you could, lobby to have it cleaned up or something like that. So, inform people that littering's bad and enforce a solution like you can report them to the police. And here in Idaho anyways, they can get in trouble for it, especially if they litter like a whole bag full of garbage that falls apart on the road and their bills are on there, so they have their names and stuff, and they don't stop and pick it up.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yes, that is a problem.
Don't turn my camera on.
I didn't turn your camera on. I was just making sure that I hadn't muted Don.
Oh.
Is Don muted onto Don's microphone?
No, Don can hear Don in his headset, so okay. Don sounds good.
So yes, Don is there. So yeah. So yeah, you pay attention to what you see and what you're working on. So our internal dialogue, has a lot to do with our shadow work also. So if our minds and emotions become polluted, often we're not going to be able to think clearly. And so our emotions can lead us astray and cause us to act out without really knowing why. And that, I think, I'm just thinking of some people that I know that need to do some shadow work and acknowledge that stuff because, wow. Yeah, they're acting out. They've got some of that anger and that pity me type behavior. And a lot of estranged families, it's partly because there's someone out there who hasn't done their shadow work.
It's and I heard I haven't been able to listen because the paranormal portal truck the paranormal pickup is kind of loud, but I heard you talking about who's the worst judge of self is the self, of course. But we have to remember not to judge others, because it's not our job. Our job is to help them if they ask for it, to guide them or give them our honest words. I don't want to say opinion, but that's what it comes out as.
Right. And
if they ask.
Okay, on that note, there was an image going around locally here of a Walmartian, and it was a local person that someone actually knew that was missing most of her britches. And so you could see a whole lot of vertical smile. And in that situation, I would have just tapped her on the shoulder, like, honey, you either need a longer dress or bigger britches. And that to me is just being respectful, because who wants that much of your hoo-ha hanging out in public? But
I forgot to tell you about something the other day.
oh dear.
Anyhow,
So
but you were talking about shadow work, and I'm sorry. Go back just a little bit and remind me, what were you just talking about? Look at your notes.
people acting out, emotions leading us astray,
Right.
kind of a thing.
Right. That's definitely, those kind of actions, are really indicative of people who are having issues, but they don't know why. Like you said, they may not know why, or things like that. And it's one thing to be a parent and say, we don't act like that, and it's another thing for an adult to tell another adult, we don't do that. You don't do that.
Mhm.
Because that's judgmental. Also,
Unless you're missing your britches.
well, there's a fair warning, and but I mean, it's like in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's a self inventory. They call it a self inventory, and find the things that you've done wrong in the past, and if you can, make amends, or kind of explain to the person what was happening at the time,
Mhm.
and that kind of thing.
Yes.
So that's also another part of shadow work is cleaning up your mess.
Mhm.
So
As the internal cleanup must happen. Yes. So Brandy says that she's been rather negative towards others lately at work. It's really exhausting because she's fighting with herself. And you know what? That's a legit thing. And maybe if you're fighting with yourself, or fighting with yourself at work because you're angry at others, what is it? Or not angry, but negative towards others? What is it that's causing you to feel negative at work? Is it that you have to go to work? Worried about the virus miscellany, the riots, the protests, our political situation? Here, I'm just talking about the U.S. I'm not sure where you're at. Or is it, worried about your kids or your own personal relationships? Stop and think about it. And don't be afraid to just grab a sheet of paper and write down why it is you're angry. What's causing that anger? Because often it's a little thing that, if ignored long enough, becomes a big thing.
well,
That's how pearls happen. A little grain of sand, microscopic,
right.
in an oyster, causes a little bit of pain, and after a while it builds up and you got a big old pearl.
But you've really got to look to see if that little thing is actually the problem, or if it's indicative of an issue that you've had before
Mhm.
that was a bigger problem.
Mhm.
So those little things add up, but what do they add up to?
And what caused the little things? Because the causality of that little thing, and it may be you're getting that ooky vibe from someone at work. We've all worked with someone who just gave off that ooky feeling, or encountered them in some public situation where just the ook factor is real. And why is it they're giving you that ook feeling? So Brandy says negative thoughts about people. All right. And it may, stop and think about it. What are those negative thoughts about those other people? Are they reflective of something that maybe you're feeling about yourself? Because often that's what we're doing. If we look at someone's like, oh, honey, that's the wrong outfit for you. It could be maybe you're looking at that outfit like, oh, honey, that outfit's horrible for me.
Well, and
Well,
remember,
some of them really are horrible
Some
on
of
you.
them
I'm just saying. But you need to just stop and think about it. What is that negative thought? Is it that her voice is driving me nuts?
Oh, I have
It's
that
so up here in the octave, and it's kind of this squeaky, and it sounds like fingernails on chalkboard, and is that something you can fix? No. Is it going to drive you flippin' insane? Possibly. But you need to figure out a way to manage yourself in working with that individual.
And you need to remember also that the things that you see wrong in other people, you need to really check your inventory and find out if you're doing something similar or if it's a reflection of you. There's a lot of people that say, well, I wasn't upset this morning until I came in and everybody asked me if I was upset about something, and now I'm upset about something.
Right? I've worked with a gal who totally hated when somebody around her ate food with their mouth open. Okay. So personally, I think that's revolting. If you're going to eat your food, close your mouth. Don't need to see that. You're not a cement mixer.
Seafood.
Yeah, it's not a seafood diet. I don't need to see your food. But and so she would gripe about all these other people who are eating with their mouths open. And then I sat and watched her eat one day, and she's like, it's like, holy cow, you cow. Would you close your mouth? And I didn't say it. It's like, oh, I'm sorry you feel that way about other people, and just kind of roll with it. But yeah, it was really, truly, she was upset about something that everybody around her was doing, in part because she was doing it also, but she didn't see that she didn't see that part of her. And so, and now I'm not saying, Brandy, that you're the reason why you're negative at everybody and everybody's driving you nuts. Sometimes, no matter what we do, people are going to drive you nuts.
But it also may be something that somebody did in your childhood, and they drove you nuts then. And so, and I'm just speculating. I'm giving my opinion. I'm giving my idea. But you should look back and see, has this happened before? How has this affected my attitude or how I've felt at the time, and see if it's something that you can adjust internally, and then let go of.
Yes, yeah. And so Brandy just said, she's also an empath, and so she's trying to figure out what's hers and what isn't, and if it's trying to figure out what isn't yours and setting that down. We all have enough baggage to carry. We don't need to carry somebody else's. You're not a camel. You don't have to carry it. So, you set your boundaries. Maybe it's time, I don't know if you work in a cubicle, if you do, or you have your own office, put a little bit of salt in all four corners. And, visualize.
Did you just say assault your coworkers?
I said put a little bit of salt in the corners of your cubicle or
gotcha.
office.
Sorry. My apologies.
I don't recommend assaulting your coworkers unless they're chewing with their mouth open. No, seriously, no, don't do that. It's bad. But you need to, figure out what, how to set your boundaries. And sometimes you meditate on it just a little bit, and meditate as you're at home and visualize your boundaries and your protections and how to, shield yourself from those other energies and thoughts and stuff, that other stuff. Sonia.
Yes, please expand on that.
Says that one of the most famous shadow workers, in her opinion, was Mr. Rogers. I gotta, in a way, I can totally see that. Because he was always taking some issue, paring it down to the root blocks of it, whatever fabricated issue it was for the show that day, and turning it around and fixing it.
Good point, yeah.
And
because King Charlie. Anyhow, he was always having an issue, and he'd always sit down with him and have that talk. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes, you need to just sit down. What is the issue? Write it down. Figure out what the basic building blocks of that particular issue is, and that's really what shadow work is. You're taking those building blocks of whatever the issue is, and breaking them down. And what is it? And rearrange them so they make sense. Yes, he was a Navy SEAL, so he did know how to shoot those people chewing with their mouths open. Just saying. But and Justin says, use a shield if you're going to do it. So there's different ways to do. Don't assault people. You should pepper them.
Pepper them?
Assault, pepper, garlic.
Oh, God.
So, Um, you know,
Seed says use rock assault.
is it pink rock assault?
Pink rock assault.
So Sonia's going to try to expand, but text is hard with interruption. Yeah, she's
Yes.
got littles that
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
divide time. So, anyways, yeah, that internal cleanup has to happen. You know what? Chris is face palming. You know what are the your parts that you need to fix and clean up and rewiring of your internal dialogue. Just like driving down the road, you got to figure out where you need to go using a map, right, or MapQuest or Google Map or whatever, and suddenly there's a car accident or road construction or the wind happened and a tree rolled over and blocked the road. You got to still get to work, but you got to find another path. So sometimes you have to reroute and restructure. And so if we're ignoring problems around us in everyday life and the stuff that causes us to shove things down, whether it's spiritual stuff, relationship stuff, emotional stuff, physical stuff, any of that, that angst, that pain, and suffering will continue. And it's only once we actually face our face our difficulties that change can be made. Acknowledging what they are, and then your peace will then win out and prevail. So, shadow work can often seem counterintuitive because we're talking about shadows and the dark side. Because in facing your pain rather than running away from it, you're going to feel that pain. You really are. You're going to feel that anger. You're going to feel that frustration. And you're going to feel all of that. And that's okay to experience all of that. And the shadow work process itself works because you're allowing yourself to feel and understand those painful aspects of yourself and integrate them into yourself instead of being treated like a castaway or an unnecessary feeling or something you don't want to experience, like crying for men, for instance, or men enjoying romantic comedies and chick flicks. They're not necessarily chick flicks, they're just movies.
Failure to launch.
Actually, that's a pretty good movie. But it takes courage and an open heart with yourself, and courage to see those things and embrace them, because often they're hard. But in the process, you'll learn some really valuable tools along the way. So Sonia's expanded just a little bit. So, but put a D20 for pink Himalayan salt damage.
It's a double D20.
That's funny.
Oops, I mean 2 D20. Sorry.
All right.
Freudian slip.
So, he helped shadow work for children. Every show, divorce, anger, death, you name it. He took his religious beliefs, and while he didn't try to convert others with it, he tried to use it to help reach others and heal with it. And I think that's very true, because he was a very, very devoutly Christian man. But he didn't shove it onto people.
Right.
And he accepted his spirituality in a way that he used to heal people, I think. And that, to me, is what Christianity should look like instead of what we often see. So
right. Well, she also said he also used it to help his anger over his past and present. He used to swim, play piano, and walk in nature.
Those three things, swimming, playing the piano, and walking in nature, are very soothing and relaxing and peaceful. They're awesome. So what are your thoughts? You got about a minute.
My thoughts in a minute? In a minute. I think it's important. I didn't know what it was called when I was when I first figured out that I needed to get rid of baggage. I didn't really know what it was, but I was using self-medication type methods, Cabenzis. But it really, like I talked about just a week or two ago, about peeling away the ego to see what's going on and being able to realize what it is and then fix it or do what you have to with it.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's shadow work to me. That's what, Kabenzi's gave me my spirituality.
Yeah.
So,
Lucky agrees with you.
oh, well, thank you.
So, yes. And they're actually doing studies that Kabenzi's.
Was it lucky or was it seeds?
Oh, it was seeds.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry, I just saw the blue wrench. Kabenzi's and other substances like that help with depression and help you
Yeah.
with the rewiring. So,
Yeah.
anyways, we're going to break
Because I need water.
because we're at the top of the hour already. So, we'll see you guys in a bit. Hello, my lovelies. We are adventuring off into the spaces between. And this is Paisley Wild, and I've got Don Longbeard in the studio. So there he is waving. And Chris Jarvis asked about how much kombucha do you drink? Half a bottle a day. Depends on the size of the bottle. Yeah, and who's making it and how strong it is. So
Tastes moldy.
I don't like kombucha as much as I like kefir water.
Kefir water, yes.
Kefir water is awesome. I like kefir water so much more than I like kefir milk. Kefir milk is kind of yogurty,
Ugh.
and it's okay. We'll leave it at okay. I really prefer kefir water. I should get kefir again.
With raspberries.
Kefir water with raspberries. Or frozen strawberries.
And eggshell.
Yes. So, talking about shadow work. Because, well, I have a feeling that there's a lot of people in the world right now that are not doing very good jobs of managing their shadow work. I'm trying to be very
Diplomatic.
and nice.
Politic.
Nice. Diplomatic. Diplomatic's good. Diplomatic's good. We'll leave it at that one. Because, people.
Craisins, yes.
Okay, deep breath. We're not talking about the people. We're talking about the shadow work.
Yes, that's true. We're talking about the people who need the shadow work.
Right? And some Aya Life.
And some
IALife.com.
Aya.
Aya is good for you.
Aya.
Aye. So, why should you master your shadow self? Well, honestly, it's... Think of it as a foundation, or even the earthwork that you have to do before you put in a foundation to have a positive change in your life. It is a form of self-examination. I think it's important. Shadow work is an introspective psychological practice that anyone can do and will generally lead to a more fulfilling life. And I say generally because there are always exceptions. I am not a medical doctor. Chris Jarvis, craisins are dehydrated
They're
cranberries.
Cranberries turned into raisins.
Yeah,
Craisins.
they're just dried cranberries, and they're awesome. So yes, I'm not a doctor. I haven't played one on TV. I haven't stayed at a Holiday Inn Express or anything like that.
Oh gosh.
So, but from a pagan and witch point of view, or a spiritual guide type of view, shadow work is important. So,
Well, it's the only way you can join your two sides together. is
yes,
In harmony.
mm-hmm.
Have a Coke and a smile.
Yeah, coconut smell. All right. And working with your shadow, you will have. It won't be smooth. It's not a smooth journey. You'll have fits and starts, stops, and all that stuff, and you'll have moments of just woo, major awakening moments, just woo moments, and you'll have more authenticity, more creativity, more emotional freedom. You'll feel lighter. Honestly, shadow work leads to setting down the baggage that you pick up and carry all the time. So, yes, Sonia, you do need your kiddos need to go to daycare so you can do shadow work. But some other benefits from doing shadow work on yourself: improved relationships, not just with others, but with yourself. Honestly, if you don't like yourself, or if you don't love yourself, it's going to be hard to have relationships with others. If you can't accept who you are, it's really hard to accept other people as themselves. You'll have more energy. Your immune system will be better because you're not...
Stress relief.
You won't be, again, carrying all that baggage that you don't need to carry. Carlton calls them holy poop moments. Yes. Just overall enhanced state of well-being and mood. People won't be asking you, why are you so angry today? They'll be asking, what are you on that you're so happy? Can you share? It's like, yes, I did my shadow work this morning.
Would you like some? Would you? My shadow told me to tell you where to go.
So anyways, but better communication, not just with others, but with yourself. Yes, kefir water, bomber. Yeah, instead of kefir milk, you use water and honey, or raw sugar,
Yeah, raw cane sugar.
cane
If you're
sugar,
gonna use
real
it,
yeah,
yeah.
real sugar, and it's good stuff.
What is it? Turabino? Tur um
And you've got a
I've got a world of
turbinado
knowledge. Turbinado, yes.
sugar.
Good stuff.
Yes. Yeah, better communication, and with others and yourself. You'll be able to set better boundaries in your life. So if you're having a hard time, setting boundaries with people or saying no when someone wants you to do something, shadow work, because a lot of times we feel guilty for saying no. Why do we feel guilty? Guilty is one of those things we need to work on. It's a shadow thing. And that self-destructive cycle that we often get into. I feel like crap, so I'm going to eat the cake. I eat the cake, and I feel like crap, so I'm going to eat the cake. That kind of a thing. That self-destructive cycle will slow down and stop. It'll still be there, because it's very easy for people to self-destruct. Very easy. That's why so many people do it. It's a lot harder to work on yourself and do the shadow work and be a better person. It's hard sometimes to be a better person than it is to just self-destruct. So, Bomber, I use kefir grains rather than crystals. I think crystals are just dried grains.
Yeah, you have to reconstitute them, and
I think it also the terminology is just a little bit different from one region to the next.
Yes. Well, because she's thinking, I know the kefir she's talking about, but that's kefir, not kefir. But that's not how we pronounce it in the United States anyhow.
Yeah.
We just all call it kefir.
Kefir. So, Kefir. Kefir.
And the other one's Kefee.
All right. So, anyways, yeah. All right. Let's see. So, how do you use shadow work in your life? So, to engage fully with the broad spectrum of life, there are a couple of different techniques, and I've got a lot of information. I should probably pick it up a little bit because I'm going to run out of time. So, what can you do? How do you do it? What are your techniques? Journal. Seriously, writing down, journaling is one of the best ways to really engage in shadow work. It's a way to record all of your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, so that you become aware of your unconscious self. And when I was in my teens and my early 20s, I kept a journal. I wrote almost religiously every night. And by the time I was about 25, I went back through and I was reading those journals. And all I could was like, OMG, what an angsty mess I was. And wow, am I so glad that things turned out differently. And I was so glad to burn those. Oh my gosh. It was such a cleansing thing. But journaling, yes. Journal. So you can journal about specific ways you react to certain situations and people. So yeah, if your coworkers are making you angry. Karen was such a Karen today that... or Sharon turned into a Karen this morning, and I just don't know what happened.
She went from the was it the rose of Sharon to the bush of Karen?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But if you start writing down, you'll begin to see that there's the patterns in it. Whether it's an emotional or behavioral pattern, you'll start to see how it develops, and once you recognize those patterns, you can change your internal dialogue then with yourself the moment it starts happening. A little bit of meditation, take a break, go to the bathroom, wash your hands. Seriously, often washing your hands, you're cleansing yourself of that negative feeling. It's a real thing. And that type of shadow work can often use specific archetypes to define shadow parts of yourself so you can better understand them. It's like, I was such a queen this morning. It happens. Or, whatever your interpretation of queen. For me, it's like princess parking, queen parking, that kind of thing. But There have been a few times when I've let someone else put makeup on. It's like, wow, I look like a queen. So, it just varies on your personal interpretation. Write it down, journal it. Took you a minute.
Oh my God, I was such a queen this morning.
Yeah. So and you may feel conditioned, for example, to overwork yourself when it comes to your job. You bring your problems home. You don't shut off work. You're always available via email. The phone's always ringing. I've done this. Hired to do a 40-hour-a-week job, ended up doing 80 hours for the same pay. Yeah. So, don't feel conditioned to overwork yourself.
Brandy asks, is shadow work compared to thinking back through your life and forgiving yourself and releasing it? If that's what you think you need to do, yeah. And it's also thinking back through your life and going, you know what, so and so used to do this to me and I hated it. Now, we talked about forgiving last week or the week before. And that's part of shadow work, is either forgiving or moving past it in whatever way you do. So, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because you can forgive someone for a behavior without telling them that you forgive them, because what if you never talk to that person?
Right.
I mean, I got to tell you, from when I graduated from high school, I've talked to my classmates maybe twice. Maybe. I'd have to really think about that one, and we don't have that much time tonight.
Well, really the thing you need to do in that case is forgive them. My opinion, forgive them for the way you reacted to what they did. Forgive yourself for the way you reacted to what they did.
Yeah, because
it's your reaction that gauges.
Exactly. It's like being conditioned to work and do more than what we're being paid to do. We do it. Or I used to babysit, and when I was much younger, and I would always vacuum, sweep, do dishes, just because I felt compelled, because some of the houses I was in, and they'd always be appreciative, but that's not what they were paying me for. They were paying me to take care of the kiddos. So don't take on more than you really need to. Also, don't leave stuff on the table that you should be picking up when it comes to your job duties. So you need to balance that, and allow yourself to relax and let go of your problems. Forgive yourself so you can let go of it. Because do you really need to carry that around anymore? No, you don't. Because if you keep carrying it, you're not going to be able to relax, and that tenseness builds up, and it turns into health issues. And it causes burnout. Oh gosh. Mental anguish, suffering. You go to work because you have to go to work and you hate it. That happens. It's real. So, when doing this type of shadow work, remember, be compassionate with yourself. The answers are not going to come instantly.
No.
It takes time. And it's not a race.
One step
exactly.
at a time.
It's more of a cha-cha than a two-step. 2 steps forward, 1 step back, that kind of thing. And it's okay. And you need to allow yourself to accept those parts of yourself. So I have a quote here. Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against accepting that love. That's by Rumi, R-U-M-I. So, and as you transmutate that emotional pain and discomfort of your conscious awareness, taking control of that subconscious pain and darkness, you'll feel lighter. You'll feel better about yourself. You'll be detached from your basic instincts if you don't do the shadow work. So any disagreeable aspect of ourselves, we often push away, suppress. Kind of like if you go for a walk in the woods and you're ignoring your sixth sense saying, danger, danger, there's a Bigfoot behind you, or lion, or wolf, or rhinoceros, or hippo, whatever it is, it's real. But we get into habits of just shoving that stuff down and ignoring our sixth sense. It's like, I go to work every day. I love my job generally, but there's some part of it I just don't like, and I get angsty about it. It may be that, there is somebody at work that is just setting off your ookie. We'll just leave it your ookie meter. Yeah, your ook meter. So because your basic instincts often come with negative associations like animalistic desire or biological impulses. You're uncivilized. Like passing gas.
Oh.
For instance, I saw the funniest meme. It's like those, if you hold in your farts, comes out as crappy ideas. So, and yes, Brandy, you will feel a bit like you're detoxing when you're doing your shadow work. So, but yeah, your basic instincts, they're real. And there's a price that you pay physically and emotionally when you stop paying attention to your basic instincts.
You know,
because as you're trying to find your thought, you're pushing away your intuition, your feelings.
Well, I wasn't trying to find my thought. I was trying to be politic about it. But let me put it this way, and let me just throw it out there, because I am who I am, and you're either going to understand it or not. You're either going to forgive me or whatever. You're going to move on, whatever. Anyhow, Christians, they believe in what's called deliverance. Deliverance has to do with releasing the generational curses, basically. So like if you're the sins of the father transfer the sins of the child. Okay, that's the what you get rid of during deliverance. Supposedly it's this thing where you come to a point in your life and you do this deliverance kind of thing, and I've had people tell me it was like vomiting up pea green soup, getting the garbage out, the bad, in a purely, anyhow, that's what it felt like is what it's like. So it's the only way you can get rid of the sins of the father, because you carry your generational curses, and deliverance is the only way to get rid of them. But you can only have deliverance through God.
No, if you're a Christian, it's through Christ. But yeah,
whatever.
So
actually, this is Old Testament kind of stuff. So
anyways, so yeah, there's in our society, especially here in the Western society, U.S., intuition, they don't want us to pay attention to our intuition. No. They don't want us to pay attention to being an empath or your psychic abilities or your clairvoyance or clairaudience or any of that stuff.
Lucky.
You guys are bad. So yeah, society says that it's not okay to be pagan or holistic. Holistic. iLife, I'm saying iLife is good. You should try it. They're saying, that's bad. The herbal or the homeopathic way of healing yourself isn't the right way. Often it is. So, well, and we become really trapped in that mindset that, oh, I have a fever, I have to go to the doctor.
Right.
Or I have a cough, I have to go to the doctor. Or I have a sniffle, I have to go to the doctor. There are some things, I have a broken leg, I should go to the doctor. You should pay attention. But, when we're exploring this part, we need to learn from them, own them, and integrate them as a key aspect of our growth. So be aware if you're suppressing your intuition. When you stop doing that and you acknowledge that it really exists, yes, there'll be a mental vomit, verbal vomit part of it. But you may become overwhelmed by some of the things that you receive because you've been blocking that part of yourself. So that's why work on your boundaries first, and then work on your intuition and your inner sets. Because, practice of embracing all aspects of yourself is 100% important and vital to mindfulness, meditation, and other forms of psychology or self-improvement. So if you're doing therapy, it's pretty good to be doing some shadow work as well. And you may be doing shadow work, but without your therapist saying that's what it is, because shadow work is more holistic sounding.
Well, and think about all those holistic healers and all the naturopaths that have come up dead mysteriously in the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want that stuff getting out. That's like, knowing that tonic water with quinine and zinc is, the way to get rid of COVID.
Okay, Don's not a doctor either. He can't prescribe you
Nope.
tonic water. But as
I can
someone
tell you to
who's
go buy some.
as someone who has frequented a beer or a bar or both, tonic water's not a bad thing. So yeah, and Lucky says most of those generational curses are actually boiled down to familial environment contaminants or family traditions
Yes.
because adoptees get the generational curses too. Yes, yes, and in a way, yeah, what you're raised with is often what you pass on, which is why abusive households often lead to abusive households.
And of course, it doesn't help when your mother's going, "You're just like your father."
I was in my late 30s when I looked up one day. It's like, oh my God, I've turned into my dad. At that point, I was fixing fence in the rain for goats. So, yes, I had turned into my father because he has goats. So, anyways, taking the steps into shadow work and committing to that, it takes some courage. And don't be afraid of it, but you'll feel better for it. So believe. I'm going to believe that you are worthy of doing the shadow work and that things will get better because you are worthy. You have to take back your life and the control that you have inherently. It's your body, it's your life. You have that control to make those decisions and to work on yourself. And you need to acknowledge that you are worthy of good things. And as a woman in our society growing up, or at least my familial curses that I grew up with, women were less valued and self-worth was determined by the man. And self-care was not taught.
Yes, it was. Mommy's little helper.
But I didn't grow up with my mom.
Mommy's little helper is Valium. It's a drug.
Well, I didn't have any of that either. Like I mentioned earlier, my dad wanted boys, so I was treated as if I was a boy. And so it was really hard. Even now, it's hard for me to accept that I'm a girl, like doing my hair, doing my nails, putting makeup on, that kind of thing. It's not easy for me to do that kind of a thing and accept that, no, I am a woman. It's okay.
And Lucky's right. She says, own that. You do have control and responsibility. Yeah, you do have the control of your life and you are responsible for your choices. Like I've said several times, growing up, I was told, oh, you'll never do this. You'll never do that. You should do this. You should do that. And it wasn't until I was 29 when I decided to go back to college I went back to college and I started my first quarter. I was like 3.8 for my first quarter. And I'm like, I can do this. What I was told was weighing me down. I've broken that particular program, which, is something that Seed said, learning the reprogram, and that was like the aha moment. It was like, oh, wow. And so, that got rid of that particular issue. And then I realized that I don't have to be my brother. Nope. My brother he was good for himself, but he's not doing good now. But, now I'm doing, in my opinion, better.
Yes.
So, anyhow.
Anyways, Brandy says, well, what if your body isn't allowing you to go slow with the awakening and shadow work? Well, it's not a race.
Yeah.
You don't have to be the turtle or the hare. Take it at the speed that you need to take it at. If you're setting your own pace. So if you need to step it up a little bit, that's okay, or slow it down for a little bit. Self-care, meditate on it.
And now, if it's causing you physical anguish, like causing you actual physical sickness, causing you depression, causing you, what that's telling you? You're doing it right.
Yeah.
And you've got to go through it. You've got to go through this process.
And okay, so on this note, I'm going to say, don't be afraid to go to the doctor and say, hey, I'm having some issues, and get the referral to the psychotherapist or the therapist in general. Don't be afraid to go to a therapist. In our world right now, we are conditioned to not go to the therapist for an issue unless we're a child with a developmental disability or there's been a significant loss, like a death from a loved one. So if your body is saying, hey, you're doing this thing and oh my gosh, it's happening, and you're feeling rushed,
you're gonna have to
stop and meditate on it.
Right.
Write down how you're feeling. Because often when we write things down, we purge that feeling of being forced to do something that you're not quite mentally ready.
That's a good idea, because you write it down, you give it manifestation, and then you go back to it and go, okay, now I can deal with this.
Exactly. So, on that note, we're going to go to break. It's our last break of the evening. It's been a fast night.
I need ice cream.
There's ice cream cake. I think you could
Oh.
probably. What do you? It's chocolate cake with mint ice cream.
Yeah, but it's got like
We'll be right
inch
back,
of
you guys.
frosting on it.
You know, there's nothing wrong with frosting.
We'll be back soon.
We'll be back. Tell Don to eat the frosting.
I, oh Lord, within the sun, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.
Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart. Mother of darkness, mother of light, earth beneath us, soul in flight, songs of love and love of life, guide us to our heart.
Sisters of the shining moon, heaven, earth, and sea. I call upon you in this hour, bring magic unto me. Brothers, oh, the cauldron cries, it singeth unto me. The songs of Mother Goddess and the Father in the tree.
Oh, you guys. This is Paisley Wild, and we are off adventuring into the spaces between where buttercream is used to speckle. It's not that kind of show, guys. Really.
Apparently, Little Debbie's frosting tastes like wall anyhow. Oh my goodness. I think people have to remember that I'm trained law enforcement, so therefore I'm half cop, and every time I look at, something like that, it just adds weight.
Oh, yeah. Well,
When you can look at a donut and gain 2 pounds, it kind of sucks.
all right. So we are on the last segment, so I've got stuff to get through. So,
You better hurry. Oh,
um,
sorry.
no, you're not.
No.
I know better.
I'll just stuff my face with chocolate cake and Mentos chip.
Yeah, on camera. So there.
Oh, no, do you have me on camera?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fine. Oh,
So-
there it is.
So yes, shadow work. You are worthy, guys. And when we're feeling low or feeling like crap, it's easy to continue feeling that way. It's really easy to wallow in it. We have this wonderful ability to just
wallow in this cake.
to feel sorry for ourselves, and sometimes that's all we wanted to do.
Right.
And honestly, sometimes you need to wallow in it.
You have to have
do.
a cheat day.
You
got to have a cheat day.
just like even if you're on a diet,
Yep.
sometimes you have to stop and have the cake. It's okay. I had a cardiologist tell me that one time. It's better to have the dessert than fall off the wagon completely if you're on a diet. So eat the dessert. So and self-pity's a thing, but it takes a hold of us and it makes it really hard for us to get out of that rut of negativity and feeling like just crap. And it's hard to get back into our normal routine or even feel better and become our best self. So you kind of have to figure out what that is. What's the secret to living your best life? And part of it, that secret, honestly, you have to allow yourself to believe it will get better. It will. And just remember, our unconsciousness is not evil by nature. It's there. We have that evil within us. We all do. But also the source of highest good. Not only dark, but light. Not only bestial, but semi-human, demonic, superhuman, spiritual, and in all the classical sense of the word, divine. Okay, so that's Carl Jung. It's a quote. Basically, whatever you're feeling, that negativity you feel and how horrible you feel, you have the equal opportunity to feel that positive about yourself too. No matter how negative you're at, you have the potential within you to be that positive or that happy or that excited about stuff. And pay attention to the emotions that you feel. They're real. No emotion is bad, honestly, because they're emotions. And our negative emotions are kind of like doorways into that shadow work. It helps us figure out, our wounds, our fears, and that stuff that just feels ooky, the ook factor. And so when you feel an emotion, whether it's a good emotion or bad emotion, ask yourself, what am I feeling? I mean, what is this emotion I'm feeling? How is it I'm feeling? This is where your journal comes in and play again. Write it down. What am I feeling? And then ask yourself, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this feeling? Why do I feel so angry about this thing? And, stop and think about it. And yourself will give you the answers. I feel this way about this because, OMG, it drives me nuts because my little brother used to do this all the time, and it just, whatever it is. It's real. Acknowledge it. Emotions are not bad. And if you don't have an answer right away, it's okay. It's normal because the answer will be found when it's time for you to find it, which is why, again, journaling's good because if you write down what you're feeling and ask yourself, why am I feeling this? You can write it down. Why do I think I'm feeling this? Go back and read it. Don't be. This is stuff that you go back and read for your own self to learn things. Justin, you had to pretend to buy face masks in Walmart. Face masks. I'm not going to go there.
Well, he pretended to buy them, so he picked them up, carried them halfway across the store, and dropped them in the candy racks.
You know what? Somebody else will be buying candy and realize,
hey.
oh yeah, I was supposed to get those masks. So
You probably did somebody a favor.
honestly, truly, because they got distracted by the candy.
See, your shadow work
Excuse me.
did somebody else good.
Yep. It's okay. It is okay.
I was told today that I have to wear a face mask at work.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I do too
I
occasionally.
called bullshit on that.
Well, the world we live in is very odd right now.
Did you know that the word fate and doom are synonymous?
Yes.
So you mentioned fate earlier. Sorry, I'm interrupting.
Yeah, you're totally interrupting.
So
Fate could just be your interpretation of your feelings. So, but don't force your answers. Don't jump to conclusions because if you jump to conclusions, you may miss a step and it may be the wrong one. So shadow work is also called soul work, and it happens on its own timeline. So be patient and know that when the answers come, it'll be at the right time.
this too shall pass.
Mm-hmm. And those steps are just a way to help you accept what's happening. And that's why journaling is good. And when you're trying to tame your shadow self, you'll be paying attention to those moments. So it's like, oh, that's what that was. And instead of trying to ignore it and the angry, angsty feeling, you'll be like, oh, that's what it was. And, it's just, I get it. It's frustrating. Take a deep cleansing breath. Carlton calls you Donus Interruptus. That's good. So
Now you see why I like him.
so many people just want to feel better in the moments where we feel the greatest amount of discomfort. But if we can just stay with our emotions and name them and be grateful for them, we can overcome them and move on to better things. Grief is a real thing. It is absolutely okay to grieve.
You have to.
You mourn the loss. Allow yourself to grieve. It's okay. And whatever it is that you're grieving, you can grieve the loss of a job, the loss of a loved one, the loss of an opportunity, the lack of an opportunity. You can grieve the virus. You can grieve for the rioters, riotees, the recipients, all of that. If grief is happening, it's okay. Own it. Write it down. Journal it. And remember that a better life is not created by not experiencing those emotions, but by experiencing all of them and feeling gratitude for those emotions. For the longest time, I personally, the peak of my achievement emotionally was to be content. It wasn't to be happy. It wasn't to experience joy. It was to be content. And it took me a while to realize that content limits you. And
No, you limit yourself with contentment.
exactly. And so if you don't stop and realize that you can have joy, why be content? Why settle for contentment when you can achieve so much more? So that was something I had to work on. I actually did go to a therapist for that, and she was awesome. So it's okay. And as we become more aware of our insides and our emotions, we seem to actually feel more. We get annoyed more. We get angry more. And because we're aware of even those small reactions that went unnoticed before because they weren't given any value, you'll notice them more, and you
can process them.
You can process them, and by developing this awareness, and then with meditation on them, you're able to identify the even the smallest reaction to things, and the why of them. And it's annoying, and I get it, but it's a really big step towards your healing process. And just remember, negative emotions are portals into shadow work. it's okay. And it illuminates the wounds and the hurt and the anger and whatever it is to help you examine those feelings and work on them.
Is the dog being a pain?
No, the dog is being stinky. Oh my gosh.
That would be a pain.
Maybe don't take a deep breath around the dog butt. I'm just saying. So, you know, you may find that people who are really good at asking for things can be annoying. It could be that you're upset because you have a need that's not being met. Or you may be wishing that you had the desire, or you desired having the chutzpah or the guts, if you will, to ask for help. Because it takes a lot of guts to ask for help, guys and gals. Because maybe you believe that asking for help is wrong. Or you don't deserve to receive that kind of assistance. Because, seriously, I mean...
Well, that goes back to self-worth.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And if you feel an emotion, again, in your journal, because you need to have one, why do you write down, why am I feeling this emotion? Or what am I feeling? Write down, what am I feeling? And then why are you feeling it? And just do a little bitty meditation, a couple deep breaths is like, and breathe and Usa. Yeah, exactly. And what is the answer there? Why is it? And it may not come right away. It may show up at 3:00 in the morning when you got Gangnam Style stuck in your head. Seriously. And remember that soul work. Opa Gangnam Style. So,
Gangnam Style.
Yeah. Just remember, soul work really happens on its own timeline. Not necessarily a human timeline, but its own timeline. So be patient with yourself and know that in time the answers will come. Again, easy to go back and read those things if you journal them. Identify what the shadow is. Because, those shadows are shoved down in our subconscious so far that it's hard to figure out what they are. And so when we're ready to do the shadow work, and we're doing that shadow work, we need to identify what is it. And the first step is becoming aware of that recurrent feeling that you have. And by identifying those feelings and those patterns, it'll help you highlight the style. Common ones. I'm not good enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. I'm unlovable.
I don't deserve that.
I don't deserve that. Yep. I'm flawed. My feelings are not valid. I must take care of everyone around me, which is a mom thing or grandma thing. And when I hear a lot is, why can't I just be normal like everyone else? Honestly, nobody's normal. We're all a little crazy.
It's normal to be abnormal.
There you go.
Especially with us.
Mm-hmm. So the shadow parts, by nature, are subconscious. They're rejected. And it really is hard to figure out what they are. Again, going back to your journal, it'll help you figure out what it is. If you keep seeing, trying to think of one, why can't I find someone to date? Why do my relationships always fail? Why I'm just not lovable? Nobody loves me. That's a big shadow thing. So you need to sit.
Those are feelings of inadequacy.
Mm-hmm, absolutely, inadequacy. Yep.
That's what I meant.
And the healing part through this kind of shadow work is difficult. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard, and it's going to make you feel like crap. And I'm sorry, up front. But it'll help better you. And these bits and pieces are really a part of our psyche, and they're hard to notice because they've been spackled over with buttercream frosting.
Fondant.
Exactly. But you will, as you journal things, you'll start noticing consistent patterns and consistent behaviors as response to something. And those patterns will help you identify what the shadow is. Because, I'm not good enough, I'm unlovable, I'm flawed. How many teenagers do you hear that kind of emotion is why they tried to commit suicide or did commit suicide? My feelings aren't valid. That's why can't I just be normal? And those are real emotions that people experience that cause them to be buried by depression. And if you can't do the shadow work and sometimes the therapy, it will overwhelm you and you will be so far down, it'll be hard to come back up. And that's where a lot of the self-medicating starts happening, because you want just a release from that pressure sometimes. And it's real. And if you're at that point, by all means, talk to your doctor, your therapist. Email me, wildpaisley@gmail.com, WILDEPAISLEY and I'll do my very, very best to help you or refer you to someone who can help you better than I could ever do.
And we do have those resources.
I do. Yes. And, investigate your feelings and your emotions with objectivity and compassion. Because it's hard, and I get it, because it's a lot easier to fix somebody else's problem than it is to fix your own. That's real. And it's really easy to blame someone else for the way you feel. And seriously. Because it's hard for us to accept that we may have caused that pain to ourselves.
Take responsibility.
Yeah, it's so much easier to blame someone else. Yeah, the negative self-talk, it's real. Yep. But if you acknowledge it,
right,
you do remove the power of it. You were so right, Nessie.
And those are things that we're told all our lives because, well, no, not all people, but in the average person, they want you to be something that you're not because they don't understand who you are. And that's because they haven't experienced you yet.
Well, and remember, we all have a slightly different path. I feel that we're all on an adventure, but we're all playing different characters. Fredo and Sam were both on the same path, but man, they had two different adventures. So remember that.
Fat swappices.
Yep. Hey, they had taters.
Potatoes.
Yes.
Boil them, mash them, stick them in the stew.
So, and understanding why people who hurt you acted a certain way is often very hard to accept. But before we can heal ourselves, we do need to forgive those who hurt us to move on. Because often they hurt us from a place of misunderstanding or their own baggage. And they were pushing it onto ourselves or onto us. And it's hard because it's like, hey, that's not my bag. I don't want to pick it up. And you may drag it around for a little bit until you realize that's not my bag. I don't have to carry that anymore. And set it down. And remember, they're walking their own path. And it is easy to feel bad about yourself and have those negative feelings. You don't need to. I mean, we all experience them. And it's a human thing. It's okay. Sometimes I think the dog even does it. But it's okay to accept those negative emotions and feelings and be okay with them. And remember to forgive those who may have caused us that pain. So, and when we explore our shadow, which is in this case is also synonymous with soul. So when we're exploring our soul to do the soul work or shadow work, there's some ways to do this. Journal. I've said journal so many times tonight that it's probably the word of the day.
19.5.
Yep, exactly. So when you write down, it allows you to feel the emotions and then empty your head of the thoughts that are rumbling around those emotions. Kind of like magic. So even when you write thoughts that have no sense, just write them down. And whatever comes to mind, write it down. You can't journal wrong, honestly. Write it down. Doesn't have to be sentences, doesn't have to be capitalized. Spit it out, whatever it is. Write a letter to yourself, or maybe to those who hurt you. So maybe it was a parent that's no longer with us, and it's like, you know what, parent, you hurt me when you do this and this and this, and I've been carrying this anger towards you for so long, and I'm ready to stop being angry. So I forgive you for the things that you did that caused me to develop this anger, and I'm setting this down. I'm not carrying this bag anymore. And if they're not around, this is one of those things you can burn, and it's gone. You write that letter. Write it to yourself, or whatever it is you need to do, because writing a letter actually validates those emotions and feelings that you have, that you've experienced. Because honestly, you've experienced them. That's why you have them. absolves you of those feelings, and you can set those bags down. Meditate. I've said meditate quite a few times tonight. Meditate on why you're feeling certain ways, on those emotions that are coming up, and why is it? And you can do forgiveness meditation. That's a real thing. Picture the person who hurt you in your mind, and say, may you be happy, may you be at peace, and may you be free of suffering. I'm no longer carrying your baggage. I'm setting it down.
So opposite of what I did.
Didn't you blow it up or something?
What?
Blow up your baggage?
Pretty much.
Yeah. There's no wrong way. Just do what you got to do.
Thanks.
If it worked. Feel. It's okay to feel those emotions. Stop burying them. Stop ignoring them. Because if you don't ever let yourself feel those things, you won't heal. So if you have an emotion that you're afraid of, write it down, journal it. Why are you afraid of it? And to experience yourself as a whole loved and lovable person, you need to own up to all of your feelings and your emotions and accept them. Mm-hmm. Lucky says, write a letter to your child self, and then write a letter to your future self. It's a form of time travel, really. Often. Awesome.
And then go back and revisit it.
Yes. Dreams. Often our thoughts and deepest emotions come out in dreams. 100%. If you have a dream that's really out there, don't be afraid to write it down. Most of our phones have some sort of audio recording app, speak it to you, whatever it is. Remember, a dream is a small hidden door into the deepest and most intimate sanctum of your soul, and which opens that primeval cosmic night that was soul long before there was conscious ego, and will be soul far beyond what a conscious ego could ever reach. It's actually a pretty profound statement. This is Carl Jung. I like it. Just remember that one dream might not mean much, but if you keep having the same dream over and over again, or the same archetypes in your dreams over and over again, there's a reason for it. And in your dreams, often, that's when those things that you hide or shove down are really going to come out and beat you up. So yes, write it down. So nurture your inner child. Because childhood traumas are often the reason why we have to do shadow work. They may be the way we were parented, or other people who may have hurt us.
Right.
Often there's deep wounds that create all sorts of behavioral and emotional patterns that are just part of our personality. And those childhood wounds are often the most painful that we could have. They haunt us. They tell us we're not worthy, we're not valued, we're wrong.
And they came from loved ones.
Yes.
That's the worst part.
So meditate on yourself, Go back to that time in your life when you felt the most vulnerable, when those things happened, and hold that image, and then take any messages that came, in at that time. And then when you're meditating and thinking of your younger self experiencing those things, tell yourself, I still love you. I'm here for you. It's okay. It's not your fault. You didn't deserve this. You can give yourself an emotional hug. But yeah, write that letter to yourself. That's a big one. I think that's a good one. Because nobody wants to own up to their own internal flaws, their weaknesses, their selfishness, hate, any of that. But if we only focus on our positive side, which, does boost our confidence, our shadow work can really help us develop into the best version of ourselves. And remember, there is no light without shadow, and there is no psychic wholeness without imperfection. That's another Jung thing in his book, Psychology and Alchemy. So remember, with the shadow work, we become whole and live a more authentic and fulfilling life. And don't be afraid to, talk to your doctor, your therapist. It's okay. But yeah, write them down. Brandy wants to know what is dream medicine. In some worlds, it's called Benadryl. It'll put you to sleep. or what is it NyQuil makes? The ZQuil? Yeah, that's it.
Oh, God, that stuff just makes my head buzz. Oh, my God.
The green stuff puts some people to sleep. So yeah, just um, you know, whatever it is that's caused your shadow stuff, don't be afraid to embrace it. Love yourself. You have value. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of being the best you that you could possibly ever be. And you know what? It's hard. I get it. But it's important.
Mugwort.
Yeah, mugwort's good. We're not talking about herbs, you raccoon you. Apparently we have raccoons, not squirrels.
Okay.
It's just then, yeah. So, yarrow. I have some wild lettuce drying.
Where'd you find that?
Chris,
Oh.
he picked it for me.
Oh, really?
Yes.
As long as it's not skunkweed.
No. Oh, it's a different Chris. You guys don't know him.
No, not that one.
No, not that. Nope, not that one either. So, paprika. So, yes. Have a lovely evening. We'll see you tomorrow night. So, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Lord, as we will, so mote it be, the spell forever done.